Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where today, thanks to Nissan of Canton, we are driving this 2024 Nissan Versa S. This is the cheapest car in the USA right now at just under $18,000 with destination. It's $20 cheaper than a Mitsubishi Mirage. So today we're going to see what this thing is like to commute in. We haven't done our normal kind of like Ipsy to Ann Arbor into the city commute in a minute, so I thought this little city car would give us the perfect opportunity to do so. And well, this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, to see what the cheapest brand new car with a warranty is like. And especially since I feel like everything I review and drive now is like 50 grand. So with this being less than half of that, it'll be interesting to see what this is like to live with for a little bit. Of course, this is a dealership car. Usually we drive press cars, so we can drive them a little bit harder, test them a little bit more thoroughly, but this thing is very fresh. It's only got 20 miles on it, so we're gonna be nice to it today. But let's talk you through some basics of what you get on a base Nissan Versa. Well, for one, this has a 5-speed manual transmission. This is as basic as it comes. In fact, this car only has 3 options: splash guards, floor mats, and a very expensive armrest, $320. When you think about it, on a car like this, quite a pricey option. Anyways though, 5-speed manual, which saves you from the agony of owning a CVT in your Versa. Under the hood, a naturally aspirated 1.6 liter 4-cylinder. It makes 122 horsepower and 114 pound-feet of torque. Of course, it's front-wheel drive, and as I just showed you, it's got a 5-speed gearbox. But I'm just really excited to live with this thing. It kind of reminds me of my old days at the Ford dealership driving base model Fiestas. Not a lot of these cars really exist anymore. Kia pulled the plug on the Rio, so the only real competitor for this car at this point is the Mitsubishi Mirage, which I've never driven. So we'll start with this one, and maybe someday we will drive a Mirage. So let's poke around this Versa real quick. These are going to be my raw first impressions. I've only driven it about 5 miles down the road from the dealership, but for one, this is your key. You don't get a key fob with the base Nissan Versa S. If you step up to the SV or the SR, I think we drove a Versa last year and it was, I think, a higher trim than this, but we'll go ahead and stick our key in and pop the trunk. You can see there are optional floor mats that will be installed when the lucky future customer decides to buy this Nissan Versa. Under the trunk floor, we do have a spare tire. Check that out. And a jack and everything you would need, I suppose, to change a wheel and tire if you needed to do so. Contrary to popular belief, I love little cheap cars like this. I think they provide a lot of value and incentive to somebody that doesn't necessarily have any interest in cars, but still wants something brand new with a warranty. I mean, for under 20 grand. The most money you could possibly lose on this car is $18,565, because that is the entire price. I mean, some luxury cars lose that amount of depreciation in the first 3 months. So, I don't know. Let's keep poking around this thing. We'll pop the hood. Take a look at this dual overhead cam, 16 valve, fire breathing, 1.6 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. You can tell I haven't popped this hood yet. There's the release. Could you imagine if this had hood struts? Obviously it does not. We have this little prop right here. And there you go. There is our tiny little 4-cylinder engine. The battery is almost the same size as the motor. Not a whole lot going on in here, honestly. It looks pretty easy to work on, so it might be a car that down the road, once you run out of your warranty, you can do some work yourself. There is a stink bug right there on the intake manifold. Nice. All right, well, it's going to get a little bit toasty in there for you, buddy. When my buddy Matthew down at Nissan of Canton let me know that he got a manual base model Versa in, I said, I have to come drive that, because I didn't know that any dealerships even stocked these, and they actually had 2 of them until yesterday when somebody came in and bought it after it had been on the lot for 90 days. So I rushed up there and said, okay, let me drive your other one before somebody comes and buys it. Gluing us to the road, to sound like Tedward today, I suppose, we have a 195/65 R15 Kumo tire, and we've got some stylish little hubcaps on there. But that's all you need. It's simple and it's effective. Take a look here at our back seat, which actually looks like it has pretty decent room. Of course, we have cloth seats in this car, molded headrests into the seat back. Oh yeah. Oh, and I fit back here, 5'11", sat behind myself. It's kind of like stadium seating. I sit kind of high up, but even sat straight up, I have plenty of headroom. We don't really get anything back here. There is a cup holder in each door panel, and wow, check this out, 2 USB-A ports. Kind of a vintage thing you don't really see anymore. No seat back pockets, though you do get some faux carbon fiber window switch trim pieces. And you've got power windows. I was kind of expecting this to be kind of like the old base model Ford Fiestas that had crank windows and no air conditioning and no screen or anything like that. But it does actually have a few more creature comforts than I first thought. Combined MPG 30, 27 city, 35 highway. If you opt for the CVT, it is actually quite a bit more. I think the CVT creeps up towards 40 MPG on the highway, but it's worth taking the couple of MPG hits to get a 5-speed manual in your Nissan. How many Nissans nowadays have a manual transmission? I think it's this and the Z, that's it. So, all right, let's hop in and see what this thing is like to drive. Pretty similar seat design up front here, obviously fully manual. But we do have an auto down driver's window. All right, let's get this key out of my pocket and we'll fire this thing up. That's, key's got a condom on it or something. Okay, we'll use this key. And up here, it looks pretty standard Nissan. We have our nice flat bottom steering wheel. Of course, this one is plastic, no leather wrap on this at all. In the middle, a 7-inch infotainment system with no Apple CarPlay. I was very surprised to see that. I just figured everything with a screen came with Apple CarPlay in 2024. But I do have my phone connected to Bluetooth audio, so we can test out this, what I think is a 6-speaker sound system, but the window sticker says 4. But I've counted in here, and I swear I've counted 6 speakers. Are there speakers in the rear doors? I swear I saw some. No, well, there's a speaker grill there. I guess that doesn't necessarily mean it has speakers, but whatever. Either 4 or 6 speakers, whatever you want to believe. We'll test it out for you a little bit down the road in the Commute and see what that is like. We have physical controls for our climate control. No automatic climate control, but big chunky knobs that feel nice in the hand. We get our heat blowing. It is quite chilly out today, 46 degrees and rainy. Perfect day to drive a Nissan Versa. Otherwise, this infotainment, very simple. There's really not much to it. We have an aux jack, which is something that you don't really see often anymore in 2024 vehicles. In fact, I just drove my Chevy Cobalt SS that has an aux input, and I had somebody in the comments saying, man, I wish more new cars had aux jacks. Well, get yourself a Nissan Versa S and you will have one. And here is our $320 optional center console, which really just gets in the way. I found when I'm changing gear, I just smash my elbow into this little lip here at the edge, which I suppose is meant to be an armrest, but my arm just doesn't, it doesn't move. It's fixed in place. So kind of like a $320 annoyance, if you ask me. I would not get it on my Versa if I were going for one. Not really much else to see up here. Everything's black plastic, and that's kind of it. That's the beauty of this car. It is simply a tool. Okay, well, let's jump on the road and go for a drive. You can see we do have a backup camera, as those are mandated at this point. Quality's not great, but this is the same quality you get in literally any Nissan, so no fault here of the Versa S. Having to calibrate my brain a bit because I've spent the last couple of days in a 6-speed manual BMW Z4, which is a lot different to drive than a Versa S. So getting used to the rev hang and all that stuff in this thing. Having to rev match my own gears as well. Very, very light clutch, almost to the point where there's really no feel. There's barely a distinguishable grab point. Pretty long throws on this 5-speed manual. Kind of a slushy feel overall. Turn up the intervals of our wipers here. Guess we're driving in a rainstorm today. Curious to test out these Commute tires and see how they handle the weather. Everything in this car is very light. The steering, the clutch pedal, the shifter. I mean, it's all just... I think this is kind of made so you can just slam gears while eating a breakfast burrito on your way to work in the morning. Doesn't require much precision. A lot of rev hang. Kind of struggling to drive this thing smoothly. Please excuse me. Try and get used to it as we go along here. Go for a downshift. There we go. Basically just have to mash the throttle. Pretty dull response. A lot of understeer. I feel like I can drive this like that Italian bus driver that was just changing gear like that, like very, very carefully. You guys know the video I'm talking about? While the steering is super light, it is actually decently precise. Wow, a lot of body roll here. Okay, we'll keep that in mind for this corner. There you go. A couple of rev matches. Oh. Ooh, we're skating. We are fully skating. This is flat out. You know what? I'm not mad at this powertrain though. I think it's got just enough power to where it doesn't feel dangerous. The car does get out of its own way. Not a ton of grip from these Kumos. Definitely a cheap tire option here in this thing. I'll tell you what though, this is just a car that I think would be really easy to live with as a manual transmission vehicle. You know, you can kind of just throw your gears with no real care, and the car doesn't really complain. All right, let's jump on the highway and see what it's like to run a Commute in this thing. Of course, at the end of the day, that is the exact purpose of this car, is to be a cheap commuter. So much rev hang. Look at that. We do actually have a lane departure warning in this car, as well as forward collision assist. So it does come with some standard safety features that are nice for if you're doing traffic on a daily basis, doing highway work. Can handle all of that stuff. Brake pedal feels nice. It's funny, we talk about just pure cars all the time. I think this is about as pure as you can get. It's so funny to say. I'm gonna stay in fourth gear so we can have a little bit more torque for our merge here. rally car mode for the windshield wipers today. This is a really small car, but I don't actually feel like uncomfortably small next to semi-trucks. I think the seating position is high enough in this thing that you do actually feel confident. Let's get some defrost going in here. That on all the way hot. Okay, so it makes sense why the CVT is more efficient on the highway in 5th gear, revved almost to 4,000 RPM, going 78 miles per hour. Shoot, I'm just realizing I forgot to reset our MPG. I guess I'll do that right now. There we go. Let's see what we get on the highway here. Okay, well, as expected, it's pretty noisy in here. You can hear just about everything. You can hear the truck next to you. You can hear this 1.6 liter whirring away. I imagine there's not a lot of sound deadening in that engine bay. Of course, the rain doesn't help. It's just a very loud commute today. That's okay. All right, well, what's this Nissan Versa like to sit in? You know what? This seat is really cozy. It's very squishy and inviting. You gotta bounce up and down on it. It's got a lot of padding in it. Not a ton of adjustment. You can move it up and down, you know, all of the normal things, but I don't believe there's any sort of lumbar adjustment. I don't feel a spinny knob or anything anywhere on the seat. Does the trick though, man. I mean, I'm comfortable. I've been sitting in this now for probably 45 minutes combined. Geez, I feel like this should have a 6th gear to go into. But look on the bright side. If you go to overtake someone, you don't have to downshift. Just floor it because you're already at 4,000 RPM. Carried by the wind a bit. As I said earlier, seating position is actually pretty high up. I can see out of this thing just fine. Visibility all around. Very open greenhouse in this car. Checking blind spots and things, absolutely no problem. Mirrors are a little bit small, and they do kind of move about a bit while you're going, so there's that to consider. But you know what? This car does the trick. Getting 34 mpg right now, and man, if this had a 6-speed manual, it would probably do 40 on the highway. Should we go for 4th? Oh, I have mastered the Nissan Versa. I actually really don't mind the steering feel on this thing. Oh, we have a warning light. Looks like pre-collision we probably have some debris over our sensor in the front. No worries. Hey, I was with it for its first warning light at 32 miles. That's okay. Yeah, this sort of thing happens all the time when you're driving in the rain and sensors get a little bit of debris on them. We'll wipe it off and we'll be good for the way home. No blind spot warnings on this, but like I said, visibility is great, so you don't really have to worry about that too much. Ride comfort is fantastic. Just having 15-inch wheels with such a thick sidewall on this thing, it really does the trick. I mean, it's a comfortable car, which is really funny to say for something so simple, but I think that's why it's so comfortable, because it's not really trying to be anything. It's just trying to be a car. I mean, this is the most basic means of transportation on the new car market, and it does a good job of being car, I would say. Elbow comfiness, poor. Obviously, if you don't opt for this armrest, you have nothing at all, but when you opt for the armrest, it's just irritating and ergonomically like in the way of where you would naturally want your arm to be. It is decently squishy. Driver's side door panel, you can hear that. There's absolutely no squish whatsoever, so maybe just keep your arms to your side if you're driving a Versa S. I don't think this will give us any noise under the bridge, so we won't drop the windows. You guys, this car actually drives pretty dang nice. I don't know what I was expecting, but this is, I think, better than I was expecting. Put our lights back into auto. Average MPG after jumping off the highway, 39.7. Okay guys, well, as we get into the city here, why don't we test out this either 4 or 6, debatably numbered, speaker sound system here. This is the base sound system. Of course, a Bose system is available in higher trims. We've got a volume knob here on the infotainment, and we have volume controls on the steering wheel. Again, you know, I don't think I would complain about this sound system for $18,000. It sounds okay. Like, it's not dreadful. I have heard dreadful sound systems. The bass system in the new Volkswagen Jetta, I think it's also 4, it might even be 2 speakers. I think, oh, maybe it's 4 speakers. Absolutely terrible. This is definitely better than that. I think because it has these tweeters, it does sound a bit better. Obviously, it's not great. It would still probably be a D tier on the Daily Motor scale, but for 18 grand, I think it does just a fine job. Man, I gotta say, on this pothole-ridden, destroyed, narrow, terrible road, you know, there's just something so beautiful about an $18,000 car that's sole job is just car. Because it just does such a good job navigating this sort of thing. It's not crashy, the ride is soft, the damping is, it's just good. It does everything it needs to do. Okay, so many more compliments than I expected to give this 2024 Nissan Versa S. I kind of feel like I'm back in my 1997 Ford Probe that was similarly equipped, 5-speed manual, cloth seats, no options, base model car with hubcaps. And that was the way in high school. I think everybody should kind of start out with a car like this. This is a very good starter car, and honestly, if you're thinking about getting your teenager something that's brand new, that has a warranty, I think it would be pretty hard to kill this car, honestly. This would be a good choice. Oh no, I'm gonna get thrashed by the Equinox. Come on. Ah, he got me. I think there's an argument to be made on the S kind of being the only one that really makes sense. I think we had, what do they call it, the SR? That one was nice, but then you kind of get into territory where you could just buy a slightly lower equipped Sentra or Kia Forte or Honda Civic. So I think the Versa S is kind of the one to have, just because this car is simply a means of transportation. It's cheap, it's reliable, it does all the things for 18 grand. At this one anyways, is 18,000. base for base with destination, I mean, 20 bucks cheaper than a Mirage. Why would you spend the extra 20 for a Mirage? I don't really know. Okay, guys, well, that's been a little commute to downtown in the 2024 Nissan Versa S, the cheapest car in the USA. Here you go. Here it is. You've seen it in raw form. You've seen what it's like to drive. Let's use that auto down window. What a cool feature. Non-sarcastically, I'm being serious.
Please select an event from this. Welcome. Please proceed into the lot.
Automatic headlights coming on for us there. Let's see maneuverability. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. Oh, yeah. Steering is not like super quick at low speeds. Well, I guess it's quick enough. It does the trick. Plenty maneuverable. It's natural feeling for a car this size. What do you think the 1.6 sounds like? Not much. I think there's one last thing that we should talk about with this car, and I suppose it's not specific to this car, but it's the argument of brand new versus used. There was recently a Bentley Arnage that sold on Cars and Bids for $18,000, which means you could get yourself into a 20-year-old 12-cylinder, or maybe it was a V8, I don't know. A 20-year-old Bentley is the same price as this brand new Nissan Versa. They did kind of a similar story on old Top Gear, and I think it was a Nissan. It was like a Nissan, was it a Micra? I don't know, it was something that was like 12 grand back 15 years ago on old Top Gear, but they compared it to a Bentley Turbo R, and then they went on to buy a Mercedes CL600 and a BMW 8 Series, and just to prove that old cars were still reliable, well, I want to say both of their cars broke down within the first week, and that's kind of the appeal of something like this. Spending your $18,000 on something that you know is going to start in the morning, that has a warranty, that's cheap to fix if something does go wrong, or if you're in a parking structure and you sideswipe a beam, or if you bump somebody's car and you crack your bumper or whatever, it's not going to be $1 million to fix this. So a nice means of transportation. It's cheap, it's effective, it does the thing, and it comes with a 5-speed stick. So what's not to enjoy here? This gearbox is really not picky. You can kind of just be in any gear you want anytime, and it just takes the abuse. Here you go, first gear. Yep, that's fine. It doesn't care. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us today in the cheapest car in the USA. Man, I've wanted to do this for so long, and I'm glad that this finally worked out. So thanks again to Nissan of Canton in Canton, Michigan, for tossing me the keys to this Nissan Versa S. It's been a fun experience and a nice break from expensive cars, just to see what it's like if you have less than 20 grand to spend on a new car. In fact, if you have less than 20 grand, you only have two choices. It's this or the Mitsubishi Mirage, and I know which one I would pick. So quick steering. I almost went for the compact spot, but I still want to be able to walk around the car. Final MPG readout was 35.9 from the start of the highway into town. So if I would have done it from the start with some of that spirited driving, it probably would have been somewhere around 33 or 34, which is, I think, somewhat consistent with, 30 MPG combined? That sounds right. All right, well, there you go. That's what it's like to commute in the cheapest car in the USA. We made it to our destination comfortably, getting over 30 MPG, and you could tuck it in this corner spot if you really wanted to. Overall, this car gets a good score for me. I think it does everything it needs to do just fine, and I don't know that I would really change anything about it for $18,000. So there you go. And I suppose if you guys have any questions about this car, I haven't been living with it. Of course, it's a dealership car, so I've only put a few miles on it, but I'll do my best to answer any questions if I missed anything in this video. Well, that'll wrap it up for us today. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and we will see ya in the next one. Take care.